Hello everybody, my name is Renee and welcome to the Go Within channel, where I help people to go within themselves to find their own answers. For today's episode of Fitness Q&A, I had a question come in that I thought would be best addressed by demonstrating an exercise and giving you a little bit of an explanation. The question is, how do I improve my balance? My balance is just terrible, and besides standing on one leg and holding it, is there anything else I can do? Well, that's a great question, and yes, standing on one leg and holding your balance and engaging your core is a perfectly good exercise to do to help improve your balance. But what I'm going to give you today is another exercise that is going to work on strengthening your spinal stabilizers. So our balance is derived from a few things, and one very important thing that gives us good balance is having a strong core. But having a strong core doesn't just mean having strong abdominals. It also means having strong spinal stabilizers. This will give us nice tall posture at any age and give us that balance we're looking for. This exercise I'm going to show you today works on strengthening a muscle group called the multifidus. Now the multifidus, or multifidi, are these very small muscles that run on diagonals right along the spinal column. They're very, very small and so important and often overlooked. This exercise gets them very, very well. It also gets to the transverse abdominis. The transverse abdominis is a deeper abdominal muscle that surrounds your middle like a corset. It's very, very important to keep the transverse abdominis strong for tall posture, good balance, and a strong core. This exercise is also going to strengthen your gluteus maximus, which is a hip extender and very, very important to having good balance. And it's also going to work your scapular stabilizing muscles. Also, just another great benefit. The name of the exercise is called bird dogs. And the reason why is because it mimics a bird dog when it's on point and how they move slowly, hold and stabilize, and then take one step forward, moving one leg, and then stabilize again. You may find that this exercise is surprisingly challenging. I sure did when I first learned it, but it's really, really good to throw into your toolbox that you can do anytime you want to work your balance and just kind of mix it up a little bit. To do this exercise, all you need is a yoga mat or get a blanket to give your knees a little bit of extra padding. If you want suggestions for yoga blankets or mats, I will put links to all of that below the video. Let's go ahead and get started. I'll show you the exercise and talk about the alignment and a couple checkpoints I want you to focus on as we go through it. Okay, so we're ready to begin. I have my yoga blanket out. Again, you don't need to use one, but if you know that your knees are sensitive on a hard floor, I highly recommend getting out a blanket, or you can take your yoga mat and just put a fold in the mat to give your knees some extra support. The first thing you want to do is come to a hands and knees position. Have your hands directly underneath your shoulders and then your knees right underneath your hip. So make sure that you're not stretched out and that you're not too scrunched up either. Your spine wants to be in a neutral position when you begin. Also, as you're going through this exercise, you want to have the back of the neck long and your gaze sort of at the floor or just slightly in front of you. But because of the video, I'm going to be turning to look at you so I don't talk to the wall the entire time. But just so you know, when you're doing this on your own at home, keep the gaze either kind of down or slightly in front of you to keep the back of the neck kind of straight and flat. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is, with my spine in a neutral position, is I'm going to extend my left leg and put the toe on the floor. Then I'm going to extend my right arm and bring it to shoulder height. And now lift up my left leg to the height of the hip and pointing my toe towards the floor. This is what the exercise looks like. I'm going to bring everything down and then extend to the other side. Leg extend, arm out, and then lift. All right, so that's what it looks like. But as you go through that, as you're holding, I want to draw your attention to 4 things that are common issues in this pose. Let's go through them one by one. The first part is to pay attention to your lower back. Oftentimes, what we do is we sink into the lower back right here. So when you're doing this pose, you shouldn't feel any strain or pressure on the lower back. We want the core to be engaged and the lower back to be more or less in that neutral position like it was when we started. So going back to that, here's my lower back in a nice neutral position. That's your first checkpoint. Number 2 is pay attention to the shoulder of the arm that's extended. It's easy to kind of reach forward, but what we want to do is to not overreach, but have this shoulder retracted. Keep the elbow soft, that's another point, but just keep this back. So again, just to show you how that looks, I have my arm here, shoulders retracted. And then, like I mentioned, pay attention to the elbow. Make sure the elbow isn't like this, but as much as your body will allow, straighten the arm, retract the shoulder. And then the next thing, notice this elbow of your supporting arm. Make sure that you're not locking or hyperextending that elbow. Keep the arm straight, but the elbow a little bit soft. And the very last point is the back leg. It's so important, and this is where we're going to get our glute maximus strengthened. Contract the glute muscles by lifting up the leg to the height of the hip. As much as possible, keep your back leg straight. It may want to bend, depending on how your hamstrings are liking this. Try to keep that leg straight. Keep the hips level, and the toes pointing towards the floor. And then bring everything down. You'll want to hold this on each leg maybe for 5 or 10 seconds. And then you can make it a flow. So you can challenge yourself with longer holds, and then you can also challenge yourself with shorter holds and faster movement between each side. Okay, so what did you think? I hope that really helped you, and you can practice this often. It's great for your balance, great for the abdominals, like we talked about, and also good for the shoulders and the gluteus maximus. So I hope that helps, and if you have any questions about the form or alignment, please do leave me a comment below. I do appreciate hearing from you. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll catch you next time.